You know what? And the young people that, I don't.
It might have been recording for all this time, hopefully not.
We have our granddaughter.
Being recorded.
She was doing something I'll tell you later. Anyway, good evening. My name is Georgette Thrasher, and I am a good friend of Ariana's. We have known each other longer than I think any of the rest of you have. She did a computer program for us about 19 years ago it is. Isn't that ridiculous? Anyway, bright-eyed, beautiful woman, fairly much a computer programmer, way there on the left side of her being. But I always knew she had this beautiful energy and spark, and so I'm delighted that, she's been on such a journey. Anyway, 8 years ago, I came home one day and the phone, the message was on, and it was Ariana, who I had not spoken to. She did a great job for us, left, and we didn't see her again. So I had open heart surgery, and someone had told her, well, I'm not interested in that crap, I think is exactly what they said, but you better phone Georgette, right? And she did, and I think she probably saved my life. Because it was 16 weeks after open heart surgery, and I still hadn't closed this program. So she is amazing, right? And in the meantime, of course, she'd gotten married and grown her business to be, she's a very successful businesswoman, very, very much so. Anyway, and then of course she lost her husband. So now I'm going to read you what I'm supposed to read you. I just want to give you a little background. She's always been an amazing person. So 9 years ago, this lovely woman began a transformation journey following the unexpected death of her husband. Vern was his name. I didn't have the pleasure of knowing him. The process of watching his 4-month journey through 8 operations and eventual death shook her world, and his reaching back to her from beyond the veils opened the doors to a fuller and richer life than she ever imagined she would have. Ariana found herself on a deep spiritual quest that was destined to completely shift who she believed she was, and opened her to a path that at the time of his death would have seemed like a fantasy movie. Now, here's a woman who, for over 25 years, owns and operates Comtech Corporation, a computer consulting programming company, building it to annual sales over 6 figures. She's self-trained in an industry known for its level of degrees, and Ariana has gained respect from a large clientele ranging from nonprofits, which she did for us, to major corporations. This is a woman who is a force to be reckoned with. She knows how to run a business, enter tragedy and crisis, and transform herself. No stranger to change, Ariana found herself challenged to the core as she shifted from dominantly left-brain careers to opening to the deeply creative and heart-centered side that she's had on the back burner for such a long time. Anyway, at the age of 55, she took singing lessons, and she told me many times she can't carry a note, right? She has a beautiful voice. Anyway, and she had these soul songs come out of her that are completely amazing. And they touch your very core. That isn't an example, I'll stick it in anyway. A few years after the death of her husband, a business venture which she was involved in went under, and she lost a lot of her savings. And at 60, she was faced with selling her beautiful house. I don't know if any of you, it breaks my heart. I couldn't help but cry when we walked away from that big tree. It was, oh God, just beautiful. Anyway, but she didn't give up, and she embarked on this 100-day spiritual journey around the world. She went to Ireland first, and then over to the Camino, and 760 kilometers she walked on that, which of course is mind-boggling to me. Anyway, she reached Bali and all these other wonderful places, and she ended up coming home ready to face the world on her terms. Ariana embodies and combines the energies and wisdom, playfulness, and a little mischief that is aptly named her new business, Awakening Yoga, which grandkids love, by the way. Throughout her life, Ariana has been totally open to new experiences and rolled with the punches by reinventing herself. Don't we all need to reinvent ourselves? I know I do, because my grandchildren are don't need me anymore. Anyway, from librarian to computer guru to marketing rep to healer to singer and now to powerful speaker, she's got an upcoming book called The Wisdom of the Camino. She is no stranger to transformation and change. Her current coach has dubbed her the Queen of Possibilities. She is stepping out as a transformational speaker and soon to be an author and I'm sure she'll affect millions of people. She's got tons of Facebook friends and so on. So she is a dear friend of mine. She is the best manifester of anyone I have ever known. And we have a group of spiritual healing work we do together. She's the loyalest person. She's always there for you. And I can't say enough about how much we love her. Ms. Ariane Thrasher. She has a great sense of humor. A lot of other things too.
Let's get this slide started. Here we go. Wow, thank you, Georgette. That was
That I just only read it once. I'm sorry, I had a crazy day. We didn't want this 11:30. We'll do better next time. I'll tell better stories.
all right. So thank you and welcome. I know it's summer in Calgary, and to take a summer evening off to attend something inside is such an honor for me to know that you've done that. It's kind of like those days in Calgary are precious in the summertime. So thank you for joining me. I think we're going to have some fun because we've got a small group tonight. That means we get to play. And it's all women, which means we get to play even more. So that's extremely cool. And I find it interesting who actually comes together. I'm fascinated by how the universe actually manages things. So I look forward to some magic happening, and we'll see what happens. I think I have to point this direction. Hello. Okay. Okay. There we go. It would be the other left. One of the things that really intrigues me is a quote from Lewis Carroll in Alice in Wonderland. And this quote actually sums up a lot about what I see in people and why they don't get to their dreams. There's no use trying, said Alice. One cannot think impossible things. Well, I dare say, said the Queen, it's probably because you haven't had much practice. When I was your age, I used to do it for at least 30 minutes a day. In fact, some days, I had thought at least 6 impossible things before breakfast. And what I've seen in my life is there's been those periods when I've been Alice. There's been those periods when I really didn't have a lot going on. I didn't have a lot of things that I thought I could do. I was settling in my life. And then there's been the times when I've been the Queen. And there hasn't necessarily been a lot of rhyme or reason. There was no real consciousness around it. But as I look backwards, I can start to see those times when I had let go of my dreams, when I had stopped having possible dreams, when I had let go of the magic that happens when we're a little child and we don't have any limitations. So, my question to you tonight is, what if? What if there was nothing, actually nothing, that was holding you back? What if the money was taken care of? What if the family was taken care of? What if all your commitments were actually taken care of? What would you do with your life? What amazing things have you got in your heart, actually, that would come through if there was no barrier at all, if everything was just set in place? And if all the resources of the world were actually at your disposal? Because when you do the things that are truly from your heart, I truly believe that the world is at your disposal. What is it that we do in our lives that stops us from wearing the queen hat, the possibility hat? What comes in for us that stops us from having those dreams? We let them go sometime. So Alice comes in, we have the great ideas, and I'm sure that each of you somewhere has a dream, has something that you would do if you knew you couldn't fail. One of the songs I was playing earlier was Janice Sandfield's, what would you do if you knew you could not fail? What if? So I want you to sort of start to think about what if in your life. I want you to sort of let yourself be free tonight to play with what if. What if? What amazing things could happen if? And what stops us? Yeah, but. Yeah, but I'm 60. Or yeah, but I don't have a singing voice. Or yeah, but I'm tone deaf. Or yeah, but I'm too old to change. Or yeah, but someone's already done that. Or yeah, but I don't have a degree. So we, within our little subconscious minds, there's a little fear going on, and so yeah, but starts to play, and Alice comes and takes residence again. I think there's a song called Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, and I know it's not necessarily the words behind that I want, but the concept of it. How cool would it be to live a life where Alice doesn't live here anymore? How amazing could that be? And to live a life filled with the what ifs. So I've given you some handouts so you actually don't have to write too much. Feel free to do that if that's how you learn. As Georgia explained, I've been through quite a journey. And one of the things that actually happened was I lost most of my savings with that business partnership. And my yeah back could have been, I've got to get a job because I'm 60 and I have no money left to retire on. When I finished selling the house, I actually went on a trip to stay with my stepson. I was exhausted. It had been a tremendously challenging year. I was beyond exhausted. By the time I moved, I was actually not even able to think. It was just overwhelming what was going on. So when I went to see my darling, amazing sister, daughter-in-law, she lives on a vineyard in Osoyoos. And we're up in the vines, pruning away, and she says to me, Ariana, why don't you just go have a grand adventure? Whoa. A grand adventure now, left brain in Yabad, right? Well, my family will never understand that. I've just gone through all this debt. What is everybody going to think? How many of you actually do have that whole thing where you actually hold yourself back a little bit because you're worried about what someone's going to think about you? How many times do you actually shortchange yourself because you're thinking someone's going to have a judgment around what you're doing, they're going to have an opinion, and they're going to think you're crazy? Well, I was still in the left brain, and I was sort of buying that, yeah, but I just got out of debt. But Spirit had a little extra plan in there, and a few days later I found myself at a massage studio, and there was a lady there that said to me, Ariana, have you ever thought of walking the Camino? Well, all of a sudden this surge of energy went through me, and I hadn't really thought about it, but I'd read about it, so I knew exactly what she was talking about. And within 2 days, Drink, Pray, Love, a 100-day odyssey around the world began. The idea started, and I made that commitment to go. Now I have to tell you, I didn't phone my family and let them know what I was up to. So they had 100 days to get used to the idea. The crazy sister, after going through this tremendous period of stress, was off doing this non-logical, crazy trip around the world at 60 with a backpack, visiting Ireland for drink, the Camino in Spain for pray, and Bali for love and regeneration. And I remember leaving that cryptic message as I was getting on the plane. But I can tell you, that was the best investment I ever could have made. That 100 days shifted so much inside of me. That was such a gift to me. And I really came home to me. I came home and I found myself. I fell in love with me. So many times in our lives we're inundated with so much going on, and we don't take time to just honor ourselves. We get involved in other people's lives and dreams. We support the people we love. But a lot of times we put ourselves on the back burner. A lot of times, as women especially, we're there for the people we love, and we're joyfully being there for them. It's not that we feel like we're sacrificing. But somewhere in that, sometimes we get lost. The essence of us gets lost, and we lose something. We lose that childhood wonder. We lose the connection to our hearts. And it's the voices in our hearts that sometimes have crazy ideas, like walking around the world or learning to sing. So you can imagine, in my life I've done a few things that have been a little crazy, and learning to sing was one of them. When I was about 55, I had a coach. And I don't know how many of you have had a coach, but they have these questionnaires. And at the end of the questionnaire, she had this question: what would you regret if you died tomorrow? And in the back of my head was, this is going to come and bite me sometime. I wrote down learning to sing. Now, I didn't have any real conscious driving dream to learn how to sing. It wasn't something that had been, it hadn't been nagging me. It hadn't been saying, you know, why don't you learn to sing? Why don't you learn to sing? Because I had a belief that I couldn't sing. There was a yabat. I didn't even get to the dream, because the yabat that had been installed, the belief that had been installed as a little girl, was that it would be better if I just moved my lips. I had a sister who was an amazing singer and grade 8 piano. I learned Old Black Joe, drove my mother crazy to a certain degree, because that's the only song I ever learned, and it was, you know, the same song all the time, because that's all I could figure out. So I didn't have this obvious innate talent to do it. But something made me write that down. Right? Something up there put this idea in my head that I would write that down. And I did love to sing, it just didn't sound good. When she said 2 weeks later that I was going to take singing lessons, I was not surprised. I had been expecting it. And in fact, I had the guy's name in my book, and it had been sitting there waiting. So many things that we have that we're destined to do are just kind of sitting there, waiting for some quiet time, waiting for an opening. So many things that we have great, amazing capability to do are not always obvious. If I had really looked at my life and my capabilities of singing from a perspective of logic and yabat, I never would have taken those singing lessons. And when I stood in front of this man, he asked me the question, like, why do you want to learn to sing? Here's this 55, 56-year-old woman who clearly doesn't sing well, that wants to take singing lessons. And when he asked me that, there was energy that just went through me. It was unbelievable. It was like, whoa, where'd this come from? And what was so cool is we just started, and every week I would go, and I was practicing, and something made me want to practice. And every night I'm walking my dog, singing, I'm looking to see if anybody's listening, right? Because I'm still thinking I'm a little, and I'm walking the dog, and I'm practicing all these little things. We never learned to sing any songs, but he's given me these little exercises, and I'm thinking, it's great. Who knew? I didn't have any great plan. I didn't have a dream of being a singer, and he knew that. But I loved to sing. And all of a sudden, beautiful songs were coming out. But when I started, it was not good. When I started singing, it was kind of like the little girl that got detention for singing so bad that her gym teacher said, "You're trying to wreck my concert, you're going to get detention because you're trying to wreck my concert on purpose." How sick is that? You know? But our spirit has those events. It's not like there's nasty people in the world that are trying to beat you under. It's a setup. It's all a setup. So I had to wait. Sometimes we don't know how long we're going to have to wait. But there was something in me that knew that the singing was important. I don't know what it was, but I had started listening to the crazy thoughts, right? I'd started paying attention. And I decided to live my life doing some crazy things and not worrying about it, not having any outcome plan, but just doing what presented. And then I get a phone call. Stephanie actually used to be a neighbor of mine, and I get a phone call from the new neighbors, and they're saying, you know, there's this noise that's coming from it. It sounds like it's coming from your yard, and it's like 6 a.m., and it's like my kids can't sleep. And saying, thank you. I'm like, thank you for sharing. And I was so excited that I forgot what time of day it was. And I'd sing at night walking the dog, I'd sing in the morning, and I was just having a ball. And then something magical happened. I began to channel these songs in another language from Spirit, and I sing these beautiful songs for people's souls. Now, that's not something you can plan. It's not something that I would have ever thought, but I had to go through. It's almost like I had to somehow trust that no matter how silly it was making me happy. And all of a sudden this amazing gift came through. How amazing is that? Like, how powerful is that? When we start to think that when we say our yes, that Spirit has something lined up for us that's way beyond what we can imagine. When we say yes to what presents, as long as it's something that actually presents that's resonating, like we can say a lot of yeses, right, to things that aren't truly things we're supposed to be doing. And we can go down a lot of detour roads with that. And we're going to talk about how to know when your yes is really a yes and when it's someone else's yes. Because I've spent a lot of my time playing in those games too. I spent a lot of my time with things that didn't work out. But those generally were not things that I really knew that I wanted to do. They're things that I convinced myself that I wanted to do. How many of you have the little convincer that can talk you into stuff and then you think, what on earth did I do that for? When we start to learn to listen clearly to what's really resonating in our heart and get out of what's in the mind, then we can start to actually move towards what we came on this earth to do. Because I believe that we all have something that we come to offer. And it isn't necessarily that something has to be your career. It doesn't have to be where you make money. I think that one of my teachers had a great metaphor for me that really resonated. Her name is Barbara DeAngelis, and she used a statement that we all come into these lifetimes with a pack full of deliveries. So we each have this pack full of deliveries, and people are waiting for their deliveries. And they're not necessarily like big, big things. Sometimes they're actually maybe just saying hello to somebody that hasn't had anybody say hello to them for a long time. Maybe it's just walking down the street with a silly grin on your face and grinning at everybody that day. Maybe that's what it is. It's just to be a bubble of happiness for one day. You know, that I do believe that we have these kind of deliveries that are sitting waiting for someone. And often we don't even know that we made them. Right? We'll have a chance encounter. We might meet somebody unexpectedly, and we may just have one message for that person that they needed to hear that gives them the courage to step forward. So when we talk about what if, I want you to really start to be thinking about what some of your deliveries might be that you've been putting off, because there's people waiting. I have to tell you, it's not all about you. Right to say. There are people waiting for your deliveries. Now there might be someone that's waiting for a new teacher. There might be someone that's waiting for a song on the radio that's just going to be the exact song they need to hear. You don't know what they are. But you do know, if you start to listen, you do know what your soul wants if you actually get in and listen to it. I can guarantee you that when you get yourself quiet and you really start paying attention, because Spirit will start amping it up after a while. How many of you ever had that happen? You put it off, and all of a sudden it's so in your face that you can't not do it. It's just there. And you can play with it. So when I was about 5 years ago, I'm not sure exactly, I was in an exercise in a room, and we were instructed to do something crazy. Like, it was just a big room, and it was like, okay, go do something crazy, whether it's sing, or jump on the chair, or dance, or do whatever. I went and sat in the teacher's chair. And I liked it. It was so cool. I sat in the teacher's chair. I like sitting in the teacher's chair. I didn't do anything with it. But something gave me the idea, right, to sit in the teacher's chair. It wasn't just, like, most people were running around and dancing and being like silly crazy. And I'm like, I'm sneaking up to the front of the room and I'm going to sit in the chair. Kind of like, whatever that feels like. So under there, some time ago, there was the beginning of knowing at a level. I didn't really recognize it in that moment. But there was the beginning of my journey. I sat in that chair. And in another event, somebody got up and shared and went up. Instead of sharing from the audience, he went to the front and shared. So I thought, I'm going to do that. I'm going to go to the front and share. He's pretty cool, but I'm just as cool as he is. And I got great stuff to share. And about 5 or 10 minutes later, the guy that's running it is pointing at his watch saying, gotcha. And I'm just having a ball. All of a sudden, I've got to play in front of the room. And I have these I never had great dreams of speaking in front of the room. But something was waking up in me. Something wanted to play there. And for some people, it would be like, you want me to what? You know, for some people, speaking and standing at the front of the room is like the worst sentence you could give to them. How many of you, with the prospect of standing up here and talking for a couple hours, kind of send chills down your spine, and not in a good way? It's kind of like, not necessarily the most fun thing to do. But for me, it's like uber fun. It's like, how amazing and fun is it to be able to sit and talk to people and share things And Spirit sends thoughts into my head. It's like, share this, and I'm like, okay, where do I fit that in? I get so many ideas that it's exciting. It's a little bit overwhelming sometimes because I'm used to structure. And that's why I've actually printed out the PowerPoint, so in case I forget some stuff, so you can go back and see what I meant to say. But it's just having fun with it and not taking it all too seriously. I think when we can get to the point where we do what's in our hearts, from a place of really having fun with it, it's so powerful. Because it's when you do the things you love to do that you're the most successful in your life. When you actually step into the things that are fun, and not the things that your brain says I should do because I'm a smart person and I'm a computer programmer, you know, I can make lots of money doing that. I'm not sure if I can make any money doing the speaker thing. But what I've come to realize that it's not really my job to worry about that. It's just my job to have fun doing what I'm doing. And there's a process, there's a timing, and there's a sequence that we're going to talk about today of how to actually proceed. So I'm going to see if this is talking a little bit, and we'll come up. And so the amazing thing is that Spirit has stuff up its sleeve. So I'm a homeless person. I came back from that trip around the world, and I had no real plans. I thought, you know, I'm going to write a book, because when I'm walking, I thought, there's a book in here. And I would get this word of the day as I was walking. Oh, I'm going to write a book, and I'm telling everybody, I'm writing a book, And they're saying, how's the book coming? And I get back, and I'm staying at a friend's house, and all of a sudden it's like, no, I can't stay with a friend forever. I'll put a little note on Facebook and see where I'm going to live. I'll just see what happens. And so I posted that I'm looking for a place to live, maybe house sit. In one day, I manifested a $4 million house. Just told you. How amazing is that? But I couldn't have, you know, if I had tried to manifest a $400,000, $4 million actually, it's not even, it's a $4 million house. It's on the market. If you want to buy something expensive, you know, there it is. And it just happened. Now, there's a lot of things that are just waiting, and Spirit was knowing that I was saying my yes. When I first did the little things about standing in front of the room, it was kind of very tentative. Right? I hadn't really said yes to being a speaker. And before the trip, okay, I have to tell you that it was a psychic that had a session with me, and she said, your guides are getting kind of pushy. Have we had this conversation about journaling and writing and speaking? Yes, we have. And? No, I haven't. And she says, they're really urgently telling you that you need to have a writing and speaking. Get going on that, and before you go off on this trip, you're supposed to go and speak somewhere. And I'm thinking, oh yeah. What if I do it when I come back? So now I'm negotiating, because I'm thinking there's no way I'm doing this speaking thing before I leave on this trip. I've got 3 weeks. She's saying, no, you have to do it before you go. And I'm thinking, okay. So I've kind of made my little promise. A week before I'm going, I think, oh, drat, I haven't done my speaking engagement. And I think, what am I going to do about that? And I pick up the phone, I think, well, phone self-connection books and see. And inside, I'm thinking, they won't have any places, right? They won't have any rooms open. So I'll just say, I tried to do it. I did my, you know, I did my best. But there was no rooms, because it was only like 6 days before I was leaving. And I'm thinking, oh, well, this is okay, I can't do this. I'm on the phone, and she's saying, oh yeah, next Wednesday and Thursday, both of them are open, which day would you like? And I'm thinking, oh, that's really exciting. And I have no idea. She said, what would you talk about? And I said, I don't know. I have no idea. I'm supposed to book a speaking engagement, I'll let you know. And so I got 6 days and I'm thinking, damn, I'm really gonna have to do this. And I'm on the phone almost crying, literally. And she said, you've been waiting a long time for this. And I knew that that was true. And so a night later, I'm helping a friend with the computer, and I'm thinking, I gotta go figure out this talk. So I go and sit down, and just junk comes out. And I have this great talk just emerges. And then she says, well, you know, usually they book these things 6 weeks ahead so we can get people in. I said, no, that's okay. Do you want us to put up a poster? Oh, no, that's good. I'll take care of that. And but I put it on Facebook, and I just said, I'm going to have this jump. And this is welcome to my jump, because I'm going to speak in front of the room, and I've never done that, so this is my jump. And so that's how Just Jump got started. And so about 3 days before, I sent them the brochure, and everything was good. And the night before, I thought, well, I should plan this. They're going to expect me to say something. And so I'm getting music together. So I get the music, and I think, okay, that's good for tonight. You know, little voice says, you know, go to bed. And so I take the next afternoon off. I thought, okay, well, I better actually sit down and get a plan. So I sat down and I wrote a few things down, and I went, and I had this, about 20 people, and I had this great time. And it was very low-key because I didn't have any expectations of anything. I just invited friends, you know, I sent this invitation out to all the people that theoretically love me. And some of them came, and it was really cool. But that was it was like my tentative yes, it's like I'm going to do that. But I came back from the Camino, and then I spent 9 months thinking and not doing anything. And it was like, I said to my coach, what? You know, it feels like I'm not getting anywhere. And she said, just relax, you're processing, you're incubating, things are going to happen. But by the time 9 months had gone by, it was like, I really need to do something. And so I booked another event here. And I booked it a month ahead this time, because I thought that, okay, well, we're not going to mess around. But I didn't put any ads out. So there was still part of me that was a little bit not sure of this whole speaking gig thing. You know, there's a part of me, we'll talk about that in terms of courage. And we'll talk about different things. But there was a part of me that actually was resisting. How many of you have got things that you're going on that you know you're supposed to do, but you're kind of resisting? And part of that is because it's outside of where we're comfortable. We're going to talk about courage in 3 areas. In the comfort zone, in terms of our belief about our capabilities, and about with the underlying beliefs that we have about who we are in this world. So, you can't quite read this, but some people have a hard time letting go of their suffering. And, oops, there's a place that we, as, I don't know if I can use the word we, the royal we perhaps, because there's a time in our lives when we really know what we're supposed to be doing, but there's something that's holding us back a little bit. There's a time in our lives when we are pretty good and we've stopped fooling ourselves and we know there's something that we're supposed to be doing. And I had booked that next speaking engagement and I hadn't really solidified it, and I went down to Texas to eWomen. And I had a conversation with my roommate, and I said, no, I need to get a brochure out tonight. Do not let me go to bed without getting a brochure out for my speaking when I come back to Calgary. And I went off for the day, but something amazing happened that day. Something so powerful and so unexpected. I had been in a coaching session, so I missed Lisa Nichols' beginning of a whole day thing. And I came into the room when an exercise that had already been started was in process, so they were on part 2. Of course, thinking mind says, well, there's a little, you can't do that because you didn't do the first half. How many of you take yourself out of the running when you have a perception or you convince yourself that it's okay because what if? Yeah, but I didn't do the first part, so how could I do this exercise properly? So nicely, there's this group of 3 of us that didn't do the first part, so I was okay with kind of being in the group of the 3 that hadn't done the work. But Spirit had something else up his sleeve. So the 3 of us got moved into other groups. So now I really have to let go of my stuff around. I didn't do the first part. And we were supposed to create this transformational statement. And we were supposed to first have done a limiting belief, which I haven't done. Of course, I have no limiting belief, so that was okay anyway. But I got to sit, so there's 3 people, the guinea pig, and the left and right, someone behind. And I got to start on the left. So I'm thinking, what am I going to do? I'm going to do some statement around being able to heal my knees so that I can jump and play like I used to. But by the time I got over here to station 2, I was like, oh no, we're not wasting this on knees. This is like way cooler than knees. By the time I got to station 3, I had a power statement. And I can feel a shiver going through me right now, even from remembering that. And I had a statement that came out from all that kind of processing time. So Lucky had that processing time for 3 other people to have their turns. So by the time I got to take my turn, I had come up with a statement that I'm a powerful speaker and writer, whose words inspire millions. And you sit in the chair and you start for 3 minutes, you're saying that over and over, and they're yelling at you, and the room is like buzzing. It's so absolutely amazing, and it's like, how many times can you say, I'm a powerful speaker and writer whose words inspire millions? They're yelling at me, you're a powerful speaker and writer. And after 3 minutes, it's like, okay, she's bringing the room down. And I'm just, oh my goodness. And she said, celebrate with your teammates. And I stood on the chair and just bowed. And that was my yes. That was my real yes. I've been kind of playing with yes. But that was me committing in a way that was so powerful that nothing else was going to stand in my way. That was me knowing. Now that phrase, this gets better, right? I think it's getting better. So that phrase came into my head. You know, I didn't really have a sense of what was going on, but I knew something was up. I knew there was something going on. The lady that was sitting to my right when I finished handed me this little brochure that said, how to keep your talk then. Now, out of all the groups that I could have been put in that room, I end up with a top international speaking coach who is doing a 3-day speaking course the next Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. They're good up there. They're really good up there. But I had to now, I had the brochure to get out, but now it's like, oh crap. Now I've got to decide. I booked the room. I've got to actually make a decision. And I knew why I hadn't put the brochure out. You see, Spirit has its little sneaky ways. And sometimes when you think you're procrastinating, there's actually a reason for it. So I give you all permission to stop beating yourself up when you put things off. Not totally, but some of the time. I give you permission to do that because sometimes it actually, I have found over time, because I have a lot of procrastinator in me, that things sometimes get solved if I put it off long enough. I've also found that things get really bad when I put things off long enough. So I'm not giving you a recipe. It's kind of like you still got to know if you're putting something off that's really important. But I can tell you, it was like, I can't even explain. I didn't really notice anything in that process of standing on the chair. I thought I was just being cheeky. But it was different after. People were coming up to me. People wanted to talk to me. People were telling me I was beautiful. Out of the blue, people would come up to me and say, you're so beautiful. And I'm like, okay, where were you when I was 25? But it wasn't about physical. They were seeing that I had just let go of all of the armor. And I made that decision to just be me. And I was shiny. When you make that choice to actually step into what's truly calling you, and you, those of you in the room, you know, some of you may actually know what it is. Who's here actually has a sense that they know what it is that they haven't done yet that's calling? Thank you. And when you say your yes, when you actually, we're going to go through actually steps around that and what stops you, but when you do, it is so powerful. I can't tell you. It's like everything gets lined up. People come to you that you're not looking for. People are saying, oh, I think we should do something together. All sorts of things. People were seeing me. And I was on my way to a workshop, a second workshop, given by Janet Atwood with the Passion Test. How many of you have heard of Janet and the Passion Test? She's standing at the door greeting people. I'm heading to Brendan Burchard because that's who I want to listen to. All of a sudden, my feet are going in another direction. And I stopped at the door and I'm talking, and she said, oh, you're one of my tribe. I'm thinking, holy shit. Like, you're one of my tribe. And she talked to me 4 times. This is a big conference. She said, I don't have anyone to lead my seniors program. I made the decision to hold on that. And see, that's different for me because I used to come from a place of if somebody wanted me, I would just be so flattered and just go there. And I knew that she was intrigued by me, and I knew that she was really encouraging me to come and do a certification, not from a place of making any money, but for something else. And what had come through was more, it's almost like I had a sense of being more grounded and not rushing off. Remember we talked about that whole thing of getting distracted. And we're going to talk a little more about that. So I'm skipping a little bit within the slides and we'll go back through them. But I just want to tell you that when you do say your yes, it's like all the resources of the world are sitting there waiting. It's almost like there's a domino. How many of you have seen the little domino pictures where once a domino's hit, everything just, it's like, and stuff gets put into play. And it's like all I have to do is say yes. I don't have to know all the details. All I need to do is be willing to say yes and then take a step. And there's a past paradigm that we've had that we needed to know the plan. There's a past that's been kind of, that there was a roadmap, and when I was 20, I knew that if I did this and went to school for 2 years, I'd get a job doing that, and then everything seemed easy, and then I'd get married and have some kids, and then I'd retire, and it's like it was all laid out, right? So, there's a, I think it's back further actually, there's a roadmap here. Oh, okay, I moved it. See, that's what happens when you let go with the flow thing. But I had this sense of, really, I knew it was easy then, right? In the 50s and 60s and 70s, it was easy. You did the school, you went and got the job, all these things kind of seemed to happen. It was normal then, but now things are going so fast that kids in engineering, by the time they're in their 3rd year, a lot of what they learned in year 1 is already old. That's how fast things are moving. Can you imagine? Like thinking, You know, I've just spent 2 years learning this stuff, and now somebody's telling me that theory was wrong. It happens so quickly. It used to be you could get out of school at least before that happened, and now it's like almost instant. There's so much happening energetically on this planet right now. For those of you that haven't heard of 2012, how many of you actually have heard about 2012 in the Mayan calendar? And I'm here to reassure you that we're not going to implode, or nothing bad's going to happen to you December 21st. It's kind of like turning 50. You know, the next day it's like I feel the same. What was that all about? Or the Y2K thing, it was supposed to be this big crisis. But things are shifting in a way that we don't actually, we don't actually know all the time that things are shifting, but we do know if we're at all tuned in energetically to what's going on, that any of you that are really sensitive in terms of feeling energies are really knowing there's something up. And I'm blessed to actually have a more grounded Mother Earth type of thing going on. So I tend to actually have a little immunity from it. There was a time in my life where I played comparison dream. You know, well, she can see auras and she can do that, so I should be able to. And it doesn't serve much, does it? Because we're uniquely here not to be the same as everyone else. You have specific things that you can do, and you have specific things, and you have specific things, and there wouldn't be much point in us all being duplicates of each other. It's somewhat redundant, wouldn't you say? So it's like trusting that because you can't do something else, it's actually okay. And if you can get yourself out of here, I mean, I used to go to drumming circles and everybody would have these great stories. You know, I went from computer programmer to like all this new agey stuff, and it was not fun. It was like horrid. It's like they're all good at it, and I'm not. I don't like that part. You know, it's like, well, she can see auras, why can't I? I'm pretty bright. No, I wasn't there to see auras. I mean, drumming circles, and everybody's got the great stories. Oh, we went on the journey, we saw the stars, we went to universes everywhere. I'm like, I just heard some drums. What's going on? Like, you know, I'm kind of questioning myself because I'm doubting, and those little programs are running. You know, I'm used to being in the A-team, and now I'm like, I don't know if it's C-League or whatever, but it's like, what do you want me to do here? This isn't easy. It wasn't easy. Sometimes you're going to get pushed a little beyond what's easy. I'm an amazing healer, but I figured out my own way of healing. I don't do it like they said, because it doesn't go into my processing system that way. I'm in my healing room for the first time. I shut the door. I've taken a 2-year healing training. I'm thinking, oh crap, like there's nobody else on the team. Usually you're around the table with practice people. Like,